You're watching Notepad with me, Ibrahim Sani. Today we shall cover the topic of Malaysia suing Goldman Sachs and whether or not we're going to get the money involved. So from the timeline perspective, the AGC or the Attorney General's Chambers required a certain number of months before they could get their act together and pursue this criminal charge. That's the first part. The second part is, let's take a look into the amount that they want back from Goldman Sachs. The bank, the investment bank, raised a bunch of money, close to $6 billion or even a little bit over $6 billion through three bonds that were raised between 2012 and 2013. For themselves, they managed to profit $600 million or 2.6 billion ringgit. So what the AGC wants to do now is to prove that, number one, from the $6 billion that were raised, 2.7 billion were misappropriated and basically was stolen by Joe Low and his accomplices. The second thing that they want to prove is that they want to show that the $600 million that the Goldman Sachs made out of profit is actually ungained profit, and therefore it has to be returned back to the government of Malaysia. So, in essence, or in short, the government of Malaysia wants 2.7 billion to be returned back from Goldman Sachs to the government of Malaysia. 2.7 billion Goldman Sachs to Malaysia. On top of that, $600 million from Goldman Sachs to Malaysia. In total, 3.3 billion or roughly 14 billion ringgit under current exchange rates. Does this make sense? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, neither am I a criminal, what do you call that, mind. But I do say that if you want 14 billion ringgit back from Goldman Sachs to Malaysia, well, Malaysia needs to have a watertight case. Does Malaysia have a watertight case? So let's start with the actor, Tim Leissner. Now, Tim Leissner used to be the Goldman Sachs head of Southeast Asia. He has admitted guilt in terms of conspiring to steal money from 1MDB, conspiracy of bribing officials in Malaysia and Abu Dhabi, and a bunch of other criminal charges that were leveled against him. Tim Leissner has not been sentenced yet. That will happen sometime in January next year. But at present moment, Tim Leissner is the key to everything right now because he's the first person in all the cases that have been brought forward against 1MDB to prove that there is something wrongdoing, and he has admitted guilt in that sense. So that was the first actor that we need to isolate, and in this sense, because of his isolation, because of the fact that he has admitted guilty, this has proved that the investment bank has proven some form of culpability at the very least. The second actor that we want to mention is Roger Ng, another former employee of Goldman Sachs, which the AGC, through their statement that was issued last week, showed that Roger Ng has also been proven guilty of some sort. Roger has been detained by the police of Malaysia. He's currently fighting extradition charges. He doesn't want to be extradited to the US, but chances are he's going to be extradited anyway. He has faced a bunch of criminal charges against him in the US, and most likely he will be sentenced there as well. And of course, Jasmine Loo and Joe Low. Jasmine Loo was another former employee of not Goldman Sachs but 1MDB. Joe Low has also been charged collectively with Jasmine Loo and a bunch of other people in absentia. Their whereabouts are currently unknown, but we all know that Jasmine Loo operated hand in glove with Goldman Sachs. So to prove that Goldman Sachs was doing this lawfully, knowingly that Joe Low will steal the money, that remains to be seen. But at present moment, the AGC or the Attorney General's Chambers believe that Goldman Sachs knew exactly what was going on. They knew that this was all corrupt from the bottom up, and the AG wants 14 billion ringgit back from Goldman Sachs. 2.7 billion of which was stolen from Joe Low, and the $600 million that was profited from Goldman Sachs, translated together 3.3 billion which is 14 billion ringgit. You let me know whether or not it's actually making perfect sense for Goldman Sachs to pay Malaysian government 14 billion ringgit, or is there something else in return? Let me know on the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.